The 44th session of the Senate in the first regular session of the 17th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Joel Villanueva will lead the chamber in prayer.
Let's put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Dakilang Diyos, Ama naming sumasalangit, Diyos na may gawa ng langit at lupa, Diyos na nagsabing kung may dalawa o tatlo na nagkakatipon sa kanyang pangalan, siya ay nasa kanilang kalagitnaan. Nagpapakumbaba po kami at nirerespeto ang iyong presensya sa aming kalagitnaan. Humihingi po kami ng tawad sa anumang aming kalikuan, kasalanan sa isip, sa salita o sa gawa, kasalanan sinasadya o hindi. Patawad po. Linisin mo po ang aming mga puso ng iyong dugo na nabuho sa krus ng Kalbaryo. Hayaan mong maging karapat-dapat kami at damitan mo po kami ng iyong damit ng katwiran. Sa araw pong ito, hinihiling po namin na bigyan niyo po ang bawat isa sa amin ng kalakasan, kalusugan, katalinuhan na nagmumula lamang sa iyo. Tulungan mo po kami na maging daluyan ng pagpapala sa milyong-milyong mga Pilipino, hindi lamang dito sa aming bansa, kundi sa ibayong dagat. Pagpalain mo rin ang aming Pangulo, ang aming pangalawang Pangulo, ang gobyerno at ang pamahalaan ng Pilipinas. Sa iyong mga kamay, maingat po naming ibinabalik ang lahat ng kaluwalhatian, karangalan, sa tanging pangalan ng aming Panginoong Yesus. Ang lahat po'y makiisa at magsabing Amen.
Amen. Salamat po, Senator Villanueva. Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Hontiveros, Lacson, Ligada, Pacquiao, Pangilinan po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Zuberi, Senate President Pimentel.
Pacquiao, present. Present. With 17 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 43rd session, Monday, December 5, 2016, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Secretary, please do the reference of business.
Bills on first reading. 1265, an act granting senior citizens free movie privilege, introduced by Senator Win Gatchalian.
Referred to the Committee on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development.
1266, an act creating a Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, providing for its powers and functions and for other purposes. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Agriculture and Food, Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
Resolutions. Resolution number 245, a resolution commending and congratulating Jayar Inson for winning the vacant WBO Asia Pacific welterweight title at Edion Arena in Osaka, Japan. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Rules.
Number 246, resolution directing the proper Senate committees to inquire in aid of legislation on the reported delays in text message delivery by mobile communications providers. Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy Binay.
To the Committees on Public Services and Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
Communications. Letters from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, transmitting to the Senate copies of the following certified and authenticated BSP issuances in compliance with Section 15A of Republic Act Number 7653. Circular Letter Number CL-2016-089, 090 and 091 dated 9, 10, and 11 November 2016, and Memorandum Number M-2016-015 dated 16 November 2016.
To the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders Senate Bill 1239 under Committee Report Number 10.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, Senate Bill number 1239 is transferred from the calendar of ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Mr. President, with the permission of the chamber again, I move to consider Senate Bill 1239 under Committee Report Number 10.
Is there any objection? There being none, SB 1239 is in order.
May we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure?
Secretary, please do so.
An act amending Section 35B4 of Republic Act Number 6975, otherwise known as an act establishing the Philippine National Police and the reorganized Department of the Interior and Local Government and for other purposes.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, may we ask that the chairman of the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, Senator Pampilo Lacson, be recognized.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, Senator Lacson is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. May I just plead to our colleagues to please keep quiet and listen. This won't take more than 5 minutes. Mr. President, fellow members of this august chamber, I have the honor to report on the Senate floor Senate Bill number 1239 entitled An Act Amending Section 35B, Paragraph 4 of Republic Act number 6975, otherwise known as an act establishing the Philippine National Police under a reorganized Department of the Interior and Local Government and for other purposes as embodied in Committee Report Number 10 in substitution of Senate Bill Number 1052. Mr. President, the power to issue subpoena is commonly known to most Filipinos as lodged in our courts of law. However, this is not really accurate, as we have statutes granting the power to issue administrative subpoena and subpoena duces tecum to various government agencies and instrumentalities such as the Ombudsman, Department of Justice, National Bureau of Investigation, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, National Police Commission, Bureau of Internal Revenue, and the Cybercrime Operations Center of the Cybercrime Investigation Coordinating Center. In fact, said power was vested the Criminal Investigation Service, or CIS, under Section 6 of Republic Act Number 5750, which reads, Section 6, the Chief and the Deputy Chief of the CIS shall have the power to administer oaths upon cases under investigation and to issue subpoena or subpoena duces tecum for the appearance at government expenses of any person for investigation or production of documents and other matters therein, unquote. Mr. President, when Republic Act Number 6975, otherwise known as the DILG Act of 1990, was passed into law, it integrated the Philippine Constabulary and Integrated National Police to establish the Philippine National Police. A review of this law would show that most of the powers were carried over except for the subpoena power. Mr. President, it seems absurd that the CIU, now more known as the Criminal Investigation and Detection Unit, and CIDG, with a mandate to undertake monitoring, investigation, and prosecution of all crimes involving economic sabotage and other crimes of such magnitude and extent as to indicate their commission by highly placed or professional criminal syndicates and organizations, has lost its subpoena powers. Going back in history, this unit even had the motto, "We seek the truth." Now, with the implied removal of its subpoena powers, I find it difficult to imagine how our PNP's investigative arm could have a complete and thorough output in search of the truth. Kung wala pong subpoena powers, lagi pong kulang at bitin ang investigasyon. Mr. President, sayang naman po ang resources ng ating gobyerno. Moreover, the CIDG envisions itself to be a dynamic, responsible, and well-equipped primary investigative arm manned by the best qualified and highly motivated professionals in search of the truth and justice. Emphasis on the word well-equipped. My fellow colleagues, let us correct this oversight by restoring the subpoena powers of the CIDG director and his or her deputies. It is submitted that these powers are indispensable to carry out its mandated investigatory functions of this unit. On a final note, Mr. President, kung ang top investigative unit po ng ating bansa ay walang subpoena powers, may tutulad po natin ito sa isang auto na walang gasolina, walang mararating. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Mr. President, to give time to the other senators
Majority
to...
Leader, Senator Drilon is raising his hand. What's the pleasure of the Senator Drilon?
Well, Senator Dillon he asked the permission of the sponsor if he could ask a few questions. I was going to move that the interpellation be done tomorrow, but in as much as the sponsor has agreed, I move to open the period of interpellation, Mr. President.
An objection, period for interpellation is now open.
Will the gentleman yield just to a few
If
questions?
Senator Drilon is recognized.
Willingly to the gentleman from Iloilo and the Republic of the Philippines.
Yes. First of all, we place on record that we are in support of this bill. It's about time that we clarify and grant the appropriate authorities to our police authorities. And we note that the power to issue administrative subpoenas or subpoena ducis tecum are granted to other agencies of this government, the Department of Justice, the NBI, the PIDEA, the NAPOLCOM, etc. So it's about time that we correct this imbalance. I just have a few concerns, Mr. President, the good sponsor. Number one, is the Chief PNP authorized also to issue subpoena and subpoena ducis tecum?
Under the law, he's not authorized,
Chief
Mr. President.
PNP.
The Chief PNP is not authorized.
Should we not authorize the Chief PNP?
Well, during the period of amendment, if you will introduce that amendment, I see no problem in authorizing the Chief PNP to issue subpoena and subpoena ducis tecum.
Yes, there is merit in that, Mr. President, because if we authorize a lower rank official, lower than that of the Chief PNP, like the Director and Deputy Director of the CIDG, there is every reason to grant that authority to the higher official who would have control and supervision over the Director and Director General and Deputy Director of the CIDG.
I see no problem with that, Mr. President, if you so desire during the period of amendment. However, this is already a delegated authority to the CIDG Director and or his deputy. And since the Chief PNP is not directly involved in the investigation, then I would prefer that the Director of CIDG and his deputy would be the ones given the subpoena powers.
They're the ones given the subpoena powers. We have no problems with that. Does that, but the question that we raise, Mr. President, is, can the chief of the PNP today issue subpoena, or does he have to delegate it to his lower, or would he have to ask a lower official to exercise that authority?
As it's today, since the Director of CIDG has no subpoena powers, then the Chief PNP cannot delegate because under the law, the Chief PNP is not authorized to issue subpoena.
No. Our point is, under the law, can the chief PNP issue the subpoena?
Right now, Mr.
Yes.
President, under 6975,
Yes.
as amended by 8551, no, Mr. President.
Yeah. My suggestion, therefore, is apart from the director and the deputy director of the CIDG, the chief PNP should also be granted that power so that he is not excluded from the power enjoyed by lower officers. Now, the second point, Mr. President, just one more point. Is the sponsor amenable to the non-delegation of this authority? In other words, only the director and deputy director of the CIDG can issue the subpoena and subpoena ducis tecum and prohibit them from delegating this.
Meaning delegating this authority to regional directors of CIDG?
Yes, for example. Because otherwise, if without that limitation that they cannot delegate, they can delegate it to any officer of the PNP, which, as a matter of policy, we have very serious reservations. He can delegate it to a inspector So,
I-
our question is, if the sponsor
Is amenable.
amenable to prohibition on delegation of an authority.
For better control, Mr. President,
Yes.
I think it should only be the director of CIDG and his deputies.
No other.
I'm just imagining Superintendent Marcos issuing a subpoena and subpoena the Susteco, Mr. President.
That might be a subpoena to heaven. So,
That's right.
I am glad. So, basically, that's all we wanted to place on the record. That number one, we include the chief PNP being a superior officer, in addition to the director and deputy director of the CIDG. And number two, that such powers cannot be delegated, but must be exercised by the officials themselves. At
Thank
the
you, Mr.
appropriate time,
President.
we'll submit an amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill 1239 to allow other members of the Senate to study the proposed measure.
Any objection? Hearing none, we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 1239.
Thank you, Mr. President. As requested by the as requested by the employees of the Senate, Mr. President, I move to adjourn the session until 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, December 7, 2016.
Everyone is invited to attend the Christmas party of the employees. Is there any objection? There being none, session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, December 7, 2016.